How's it going, you guys? Michael Shamelum here, and in this video I'm going to teach you my absolute favorite way to reduce noise out of my Milky Way shots, and that's using stacking. Stacking is very simple. It's basically taking a bunch of shots, a bunch of the exact same shots. You could use a time-lapse remote for this or just click the shutter multiple times. You basically average all of the shots together to reduce out all of that high ISO, but still retain all the detail in the photograph. Now, there's a program for doing this called Starry Landscape Stacker. This one's about $40, I think, and it's for Mac only. This is the program we're going to be using. There's also a PC alternative called Sequitur, which you can try out as well if you've got PC. They work pretty much the same way, but I've found better results with Starry Landscape Stacker. You can use raw files in this program or just edit the files first. I like to do a light edit on my shots before I run it through the software. I usually find better results that way. I'm using my A7S camera, ISO 12,800, and a 10-second exposure at f2.8. I probably could have gone a little longer with the shutter speed here, but I was shooting this at, I think, 24 millimeters, so I wanted to be safe with it. I'm going to increase the exposure, take down the highlights, bring up the shadows. There we go. I'm going to neutralize the shot because the white balance was crazy here. I probably should have done that in camera, but that's okay. There we go. Bring out more contrast. I'm going to go in and bring in some vibrance and saturation, and then I'm going to make a mask for just the sky. So we're going to target the sky here. Bring that exposure down, bring up the contrast, because I really want to accentuate the Milky Way here. I want to bring out all that contrast and color. There we go. That's looking pretty good. And then let's make another sky adjustment, but this time we're going to invert it so that we're just hitting the foreground now. And we could bring up the foreground. I don't want to bring it up too much, but just enough to see the edges and the detail between the water and the rocks here. I could even take down the saturation of the foreground. We don't really need too much of that saturation. And I'm just going to go in and mask out the sharpening so that we're not adding extra noise to the shot. We don't really need any of that. And I'm going to add my profile correction as well. Okay, so this is just a very simple edit, very quick. I'm going to copy this, select all the masks, and then I've got this giant stack here. So I did like a very short time lapse of about 19 shots. I'm going to highlight all of those shots down below here. I'm going to right click, develop, and sync settings. This is going to synchronize everything, make sure to replace any masks. All right, now that we have everything synced up, I'm going to go to File, Export, and I'm going to save all of this into a folder. Let's just name this Stack. We're going to go with TIFF files here and leave everything else alone. I'm going to click Export. Okay, now we're going to load up Starry Landscape Stacker. And then I'm going to navigate to our folder that we created. Here's our stack with all of the shots. And it wants to know the millimeter we shot this at. I shot this at 24. Okay, and you'll notice as we brought the image in, you'll see all of these red dots. And this is basically the program trying to analyze where the sky is. So it did a pretty good job, but we'll just add a few more dots in here, just so we can tell it where the sky is. Just add a few more down here. There we go. And then from here, we're going to click on Find Sky. Okay, so everything in blue is the sky. It did a pretty good job. We're going to select the top part up here, and then we can select ground if we want to maybe remove it from this bottom area where it kind of went down too far. You know, from here, this looks perfect. If you have any other extra adjustments you need to make, like I wouldn't worry about the little areas in between the trees here. Like I wouldn't try and brush in there. You're going to want to just click Align and Composite. And there we go. It automatically chose this setting right here in the middle. And to be honest, I usually just leave it on the default of what it picks. It's usually this one though, like one of these two options. They're very similar. This one looks pretty good though. You can just see how clean this foreground is. And let me pop back to any of these shots so you can really see the difference. Okay, so there's one with all the noise. and then back to the composite image. Okay, so let's zoom in here. There is one thing. So you can see it did get a bit confused around this tree, and this is where you'd want to export the shot, bring it back to Lightroom, and just kind of blotch this area where it got confused. Okay, so I'm pausing the video real quick. One thing I forgot to address is the hot pixels. So all those tiny little spots in there, but I'm going to show you a very simple way to remove those pixels in a second. So there are little instances where you'll find some mistakes that you need to adjust based on this program, but overall it does a pretty fantastic job. I mean, just look at all the noise in here. Then I can go ahead and save this shot. We'll just save it in this stack here. All right, now we have the file back in Lightroom. I could probably crop out that tree on the left side that's distracting. Maybe add some more contrast. And brighten it up a little bit more. All right, so now very quickly, we're going to take care of all these hot pixels. I'm going to right click on the thumbnail, edit in Photoshop, do copy with Lightroom adjustments. All right, now we're going to copy the background layer right here and go up to filter, noise, dust and scratches. And then for this tool, you usually want the radius pretty low. So I would say 1 to 2 pixels. You can see that 1 pixel removes quite a bit of the hot pixels in here, and 2 gets rid of pretty much all of them. So I would stay around 1 to 2. And then if you want to retain some of the original sharpness, let's say the image is getting blurry. I mean, to be honest with you, this doesn't look that blurry at a radius of 2, but we could then turn the threshold up, which should bring back some of that original sharpness. Let's go even higher with this. Let's go higher with the threshold, so you can see right around 60, we're bringing back too many of those hot pixels. So we want to find a nice balance between the two. I think this looks pretty good right here. Threshold of 21. I'm going to click OK. And then we actually did reduce some of the stars up in the sky. Now it's interesting, this is an effect that some people really like. So you can choose to kind of keep this effect if you like the star reduction here, or if you want to remove the star reduction, we're just going to go to Select, Sky, and then select Inverse. So that now we're selecting the foreground and go to Create Mask. So now we have a layer mask where we're removing those pixels just from the ground and not from the sky. Now let's say you were looking around and you still saw a few of these pixels. You can use something like the spot healing brush and very quickly remove any stragglers that ended up in your shot. But a very simple way of removing those annoying pixels. Now let's say you don't have Starry Landscape Stacker, you don't have Sequitur, and you don't really want to purchase either program or download them. You could do a stack in Photoshop, so I'm going to select all of these images here. And we're going to click on Edit in and Layers in Photoshop. All right, so we got everything loaded up in layers here. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this file that we have open here. And the first thing we're going to do is take this original file, take all these layers, and we're going to right click and convert into a smart object. From there, we're going to go up to Layer, Smart Objects, and we're going to change the stack mode to median. And what it did is blend all these shots together to give us this really nice result for the foreground. Now, if you wanted to keep this, a little bit more simple, what you could do is do Select Sky, make a mask, invert the mask, and then grab one of those original Milky Ways. And we're just going to place that underneath. So now we have the Milky Way that has more noise, but at the very least, we're cleaning up the foreground by using Photoshop. I used to stack my Milky Ways in Photoshop, but the results leave a lot to be desired, and you have to do a lot of masking around the sky and areas where there's parts of the detail that are missing. So if you want to do the stacking process for the sky and the foreground, I highly recommend using a program like Sequitur or Starry Landscape Stacker for that. But yeah, as you can see here, a lot of great things you can do with not a ton of effort. So yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you want to learn more from me, you can check out my website, link in the description. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel for more. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next one.